In this video, I'm going to rank every single named location on the brand new Chapter 6 map from worst to best. I have to preface in the beginning of this video, this is all my opinion. Whatever POI I think is the worst, you might think is the best. That's just how it works, and we are all entitled to have our own opinion, of course. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more Chapter 6 content and FORTNITE OG content, which is right around the corner. With all that being said, let's get right into this. At my number 18 spot, in my opinion, by far the worst named location on the Chapter 6 map, it is Shining Span. It is literally just a bridge. I have no idea why this is even a named location. You have a couple chests on top of the bridge, under the bridge, but it has absolutely no theming. It looks kind of boring. It's just a bridge. You have a good location next to Seaport City, but I just still don't understand why this is even a named location. Moving on to the number 17 spot, that is Foxy Floodgate. I will say I love the look, like the exterior of this location. You have the two giant like rock foxes in the mountain looking over the dam, but this POI is extremely vertical. It is a total pain to loot. You have just like the actual vertical part of the dam, and then you can actually go inside of it, and there's a couple chests inside of there. It's just way too vertical for my liking. This is one of those locations that I have no problem running through and looting, but I would never actually land here. Anyways, at my number 16 spot is Pumped Power, and I did not expect to not like this location this much, but I really don't like it. It's really just like a power plant, like a hydroelectric plant. I don't know what it is with this location. Like, I've landed here plenty of times and I just can't find any chests. Like, I don't know if they're just in weird locations or if they're just so thinly spread. The fights here just feel kind of awkward due to like all the water and all the metal pipes that people can actually hide in. Also, just aesthetically, like, it's not even close to being the best looking location we have on this brand new map. It's pretty boring. It's gray. It's just a power plant, not really somewhere where I want to land. At my number 15 spot is Brutal Boxcars, and honestly, I have no idea if this is true. This might be the smallest location in Fortnite history. At least named location. I mean, this might rival like Starry Suburbs. It is genuinely that small of a location. You have, you know, a few shipping containers. You have the abandoned train carts. It's cool. There's decent loot. But I should note that this location is considerably far away from what I consider to be the most popular landing spots on this map, so you're not really going to get a lot of action if you're landing at Brutal Boxcars. It's a neat little location, but has nowhere near enough loot for me to put it anywhere higher on this list. Moving on to my number 14 spot, that is going to be Magic Mosses. I actually do really love this location. I love the way that it looks. Like, a lot of times forest locations in Fortnite, you know, Weeping Woods, Lonely Lodge, Wailing Woods, a lot of the times they're just not the best locations, and Magic Mosses is decent. It's really just like those three big looking houses, and then you actually have the underground area, I believe, in the middle that goes obviously underground. There's always a bunch of sprites, you know, running around the forest, and obviously they are very good items to have. But I will say, like, the buildings are super low to the ground, so the gunfights always, to me at least, feel a little bit weird, especially inside these buildings. I don't know, like, I'm not crazy on Magic Mosses, but I can see why some people would really like this location. I think in duos, trios, and squads, you're gonna have a tough time finding enough loot here, though. Moving on to my number 13 spot, that is going to be Warrior's Watch, and you want to talk about an aesthetically pleasing location. This location looks stunning. My only problem is there's basically one building here. Like let's be honest, if you've ever landed at Warrior's Watch, everybody lands at the giant, like, huge dojo looking samurai building on the hill, and everything else below is just kind of mid. There's like a couple chests spread around. That main building in Warrior's Watch gives me such heavy Kenjutsu Crossing vibes, like from that main huge dojo on that POI in Chapter 4 Season 2. And while, yes, you're really only banking on landing here to land at that giant, like, samurai-looking building, it has so much loot inside of it. Like, that one building has more chests than something like Brutal Boxcars' entire location has. But with that being said, that means everybody is landing at this one building. It's also a pain to fight at because it's super open in the middle, and then the outsides are like a bunch of floors that rise up. Again, like, I'm not crazy high on this location. I think Kenjutsu Crossing was better, but I still do really like it a lot. At number 12, we have Night Shift Forest. And again, at this point, you're going to start to see a lot of the locations this season have just beautiful looking colors and cherry blossoms, and that's what I love so much about this chapter. The colors are out of this world, and Night Shift Forest exemplifies that perfectly. The like violet, purple, pink trees all around the forest, it reminds me exactly of the reality biome all the way back in Chapter 3, and that was one of my favorite biomes of all time. Funny enough, if you didn't know, the actual central area of this location has a vault that has a ton of loot in it, and I believe the way you get the key card from that vault is you give a sprite to Bush Ranger, who then gives you the key card to open the vault. Again, I'm not crazy high on forest locations in Fortnite history, but this may be the highest I've ever ranked a forest location. Anyways, at my number 11 spot is Whiffy Wharf, and the way that I can explain this POI is like, imagine taking all the buildings in Sweaty Sands, like all the beach houses, and putting them all clustered together onto like a sandy looking lake beach area. That is exactly what this POI is. It is a super small like cluster of tiny buildings which are all super close together. So, you know, if you land here, you're going to get a ton of action if it's first off the bus. I actually think Whiffy Wharf is a little bit underrated. Like, I haven't seen anybody on Twitter or anything talking about this location at all. I kind of forgot it existed. It's a nice little like beach town area. I can't complain about it. I think it's decent. It's not great. It's not terrible. And that's why it gets where it is on this list. And my number 10 spot is Twinkle Terrace. And I have seen you Twinkle Terrace fans in my comment section of my Chapter 6 videos. I've seen you guys in there. Twinkle Terrace is absolutely a solid location. Again, like another decently small location, but it does have multiple buildings with multiple floors, which is big. Think about like some other locations I've said so far. A lot of those are just one-story kind of flat buildings. You are also in a decent proximity to Night Shift Forest, so if you want to loot up here and then you want to go straight for that vault, you can book it to the forest. I love how this location, like every single house has those lights that kind of hang down off the roof. At night, it makes this POI look amazing. Again, just a really solid location on this Chapter 6 map, and if you said this was your favorite location in the game so far, I would not blame you. I think it's a super dope place to land. At my number 9 spot is a really interesting one. It's Flooded Frogs, and I had a really tough time actually trying to figure out how I was going to rank this location, because sometimes the build grid just feels like an absolute nightmare here. Obviously, if you're a zero build player, you can kind of forget about that, but as a build player, the way the roofs are structured and the water in the middle, it can just be an absolute nightmare with like the fences around it to try and find like an actual good place to build. I absolutely love the theming of this location, and funny enough, I actually saw a Twitter video of someone actually going like below this POI, and it's actually like there's an entire location under it. Like imagine like Polar Peaks right when the snow melted. There's an entire like area underneath this location that is obviously all flooded. So I wonder later in the season if the water will start to drop and this location will look even better. Something about this location just gives me crazy kind of like Lucky Landing vibes. Maybe mix in a little bit of like Steamy Springs from Chapter 4 Season 2. You kind of see what I'm cooking up here. I have like a very minor complaint about this location. It's that the doors are like those weird sliding doors. So you can't like run and bash through them. You have to actually like manually open the doors, which can kind of be annoying sometimes. But other than that, I actually love this location. This might be my most dropped location this season, but I can't lie. Sometimes that build grid and that water can be super annoying. And honestly, most of the fights at Flooded Frogs for me end up taking place on the roof anyways, because the buildings are mostly just one-story flat straight lines. At my number 8 spot is Hopeful Heights. This is actually the location where I believe you can find Hope and Jonesy, so for storyline purposes, that is kind of cool. I get like a little bit of a mix of kind of like Retail Row, salty and greasy, kind of all placed into one location. You know what I'm talking about? I think the cherry blossoms add so much great color to this location, and honestly, I don't really have a lot else to say. It's got a bunch of chests all packed really tight together, but there's not really a lot to talk about here. It's just kind of, I don't know, a couple buildings chucked together, a road going through, and that's really it. Anyways, moving on to my number 7 spot, that is going to be Lost Lake, and I think that's going to surprise a lot of you guys because I was really just complaining about how the water in Flooded Frogs is a little bit of a problem for me, and this location is essentially entirely surrounded by that weird like kind of green swamp water. I don't know, like to me this location just feels like a better version of Warriors Watch, right? You have like kind of that big samurai looking building all the way in the corner where like you can challenge that if you want, but if you don't want to go there, there's like a bunch of 4 or 5 little buildings clumped together in the corner. So I think it's just a better version of Warriors Watch. Again, like, I'm not really huge on the water. I think the roofs are a little bit of a problem. You guys can see, like, they're super kind of angled upwards. It just makes the build grid an absolute nightmare if you play builds mode like I do. But I do give it a lot of points for it being so much more central on the map. Like, you're almost always going to get zoned when you land here. And I don't know, I'm a Lost Lake fan. At my number 6 spot is a location that I'm sure a lot of you have probably been waiting for. It's Bird. When I first saw the Fortnite Chapter 6 map for the first time, I thought this was an absolute troll or just a total mistake, kind of like how Carl was with Coral Castle. But lo and behold, no, it is not a troll. It is actually meant to be Bird. If you didn't know, that is a combination of a bird and a turd. That is actually what the mascot is. And besides it being literally the shortest named location in Fortnite history, it's actually pretty decent. Bird to me feels like it was designed to be on the Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 map. I don't know, something about those maps, locations, designs feels very similar to Bird. I was kind of surprised how many people you find kind of moving through Bird. I think that's because it's like supposed to be a gas station, right? And so many people with how big this map is are using the cars and the motorcycles and all that stuff. So I think a lot of people are coming through Bird. So even if you don't land here, you're probably going to find some action here. But yeah, besides Bird being an absolute troll name, I think it's actually pretty good. Anyways, guys, moving on to my number 5 spot, that is going to be Shogun Solitude. And I genuinely think this is the best looking location this season. It is just absolutely gorgeous with like the dark red colored trees mixed in with like some of the pink cherry blossom and like the dark gray colored buildings. Like it just all matches together perfectly. I love the way this location looks. It really is kind of like an arena like location. Like you have all the houses kind of in a circle together. You have the one main house in the middle and everyone just kind of ends up in the middle fighting. My only complaint with Shogun Solitude is just how far away it is from everything. It's all the way in that bottom left hand corner of the map. In fact, it's not even really technically attached to the regular map. You got to swim through the map, and so a lot of times you land here, get ready to run to that safe zone because 9 out of 10 times you're not going to get it when you land here. Moving on to my number 4 spot is Canyon Crossing, and I got to be honest with you guys, I am so high on this location. I was so close to putting it within my top 3, and honestly it took me by surprise how much I really like this location. Faulty Splits was my favorite chapter 4 location back in the day before they removed it, and this location reminds me so much of Faulty Splits. It's got a ton of chests, and I like how it's like separated in two by that bridge in the middle, and even if you get in trouble on the bridge, you can just jump into the river below. You will not die. The bridge dynamic creates some like crazy fights, right? Where it's like when you land here, you have to kind of decide whether like you want to cross the bridge and go to the other side and fight the teams that land there, or meet them in the middle, or stay on your side and wait for them to come over. The Japanese architecture here is amazing. I'm super high on this location, and honestly, I've seen on Twitter, I think a lot of you guys are as well. At my number 3 spot on this list is Demon's Dojo, and I have to say real quick, like how crazy is it, like how different all the locations are. Like none of them mesh together. They all feel so different, have so much personality and character. Like I got to give credit to the FORTNITE team for what they did with the Chapter 6 map, because I got to be honest with you, I think this map absolutely blows Chapter 5 out of the water. And you'll probably notice right away, the one thing that brings Demon's Dojo so high up on this list is the fact that you have a mythic boss that lives here. And once you learn that you have to actually like shoot the eyes of the puppet to take out the boss, it's really not that hard to take her out. And you are rewarded with a mythic veiled precision SMG, which I make the argument is one of, if not the best weapon in the entire game right now. Just an absolutely stunning looking snow location, and it's got a couple buildings, but you're not really going for those buildings on the side. You mainly want to go for that big dojo. You want to take out the boss and get that mythic, and that mythic honestly pushes the location so high up on this list. You'll find this is one of the highest contested areas on the map so far. At my number 2 spot is going to be Seaport City, and if you guys think about like Mega City from Chapter 4 Season 2, I take Seaport City to be just a smaller version of that location from Chapter 4. If you want action right away, land at Seaport City. This is like your version, like I just said, of Tilted Towers. It is definitely the largest location on the map right now. It has the most chests. I mean, it is a grand location. I like how you have kind of the train that runs through the location. It makes for some nasty third partying, I will say. Everything about this location is good, but I will say if you do not want action, you don't want to fight right away, you kind of want to loot up first, do not land here because everybody has been landing here. It's got a great physical location on the map. I love the high-rise style buildings, and a lot of you are probably surprised that it's not at the number 1 spot. But at that number 1 spot is Masked Meadows. I'm just going to say something right here. I think we all have the same feeling when we land here. It has like a Japanese culture themed like Pleasant Park vibe. That is literally what it is. And that is a great thing. Pleasant Park is an amazing location. I have no problem with them modeling new POIs after old ones with updated graphics. You have the kind of like park in the middle, beautiful cherry blossom trees. The buildings are all loaded with loot. Also, one of the buildings on like the front right side has like a whole underground area that you can loot as well, so be wary of that. I think a lot of people, once they start to land on this map more and more and try out a bunch of different locations, are really going to start to like Masked Meadows, and I think over time you're going to see a ton more people people land here. This is a fantastic Fortnite location. This is one of those locations that won't just be one of the best in Chapter 6, but it will be one of the best of all time, I believe. I'm super high on Meadows, as you can tell. And yeah, I believe it's the best Fortnite location in Chapter 6. All right, guys. Well, that was my ranking for every single named location on the brand new Chapter 6 map, ranked worst to best. If you guys went on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe as always, because I have a ton more content ideas ready to be made. Let me know in the comment section down below how you're finding the Chapter 6 locations to be. Do you like them? Do you not like them? Let me know. With all that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.